What the fuck is up, Juggalos? This is the Murder Mayhem Show. I'm the host, Mitchell. My top story, I was right all this time. I fucking told you. Okay, ABK did an interview with the show Wicked 101 that streams live on the Magic Ninja Entertainment Facebook page. And every time I bring up ABK, for the last several years, people always tell me ABK's not on Psychopathic anymore, or that ABK has been strictly Native World for a long time. Now, I have always maintained that there's no evidence to support this. People are merely saying that because that's what they think, and people love to do this thing where they have a thought and they go around talking about it like it's fact with no kind of evidence or anything to back them up. My whole thing was always like, if the proof comes out, if the evidence comes out that in fact he had been off Psychopathic this whole time, then yeah, you were right, but you were still just talking out of your ass, and then you just got lucky and happened to be right. See what I mean? But I always wanted to hear it from ABK's mouth or Psychopathic's mouth, because as it always has been, ABK has always said that he was on Psychopathic, and Psychopathic has always said that ABK was on Psychopathic. So I never understood this thing where people kept saying that he left, but finally, recently, we have some even more current evidence that ABK is in fact still on Psychopathic. He did an interview with the Wicked 101 show, and the host of the show, Defect, he straight up asked ABK, do you have any albums coming up on Psychopathic? And this is what ABK had to say.
So, what's, I don't want to put you in hot water, but what's the next, are you planning on coming out with another album on Psychopathic? Like, is that?
Yeah, actually,
what's going on?
After this drive-by tour, I plan on booking some studio time and finalizing the Shapeshifter, and at the same time, I got one project that I have a name for and another project that it's kind of in thoughts. So it's going to be 3 different projects, and I'm going to let them pick.
So, as you can hear there, ABK is working on multiple projects with Psychopathic in mind, so let's put this to rest. He also mentioned that the Big Hoodoo video that recently came out, The Bitch I'm Gone, that was initially going to be a video for a Have-Nots song. Hoodoo wanted to do a Have-Nots video, but ABK wasn't available, so Hoodoo just did a video for himself instead, and still reached out to ABK and asked him if he would be in the video, and he couldn't do it. And not only that, but that Ouija has been reaching out to ABK to show up in his videos too to represent, but ABK is just always busy working on his own shit, and he knows that that makes it look like he's not there. That's his words. He said that on the show. He said, I hate that it looks like I'm not there, but I'm just keep working on my own stuff. So he knows the perception that it looks like he's not there. He definitely is there. He has several projects in the pipeline, including Shapeshifter. He said he wanted to do some tweaks to that and, again, get that out. But this has never been a secret. This isn't new news. He says it every interview that he's on Psychopathic. He's just working on this and that or whatever. People ask him about Shapeshifter, and he always gives the same answer, which is that he had to start over on it multiple times because of production issues and whatnot. So people just like to make up their own facts, put them out there like they're true, try to tell me what's true, but never give me any evidence anytime that I ask for it. So I'm sure that this will be no exception. I'm going to put this out here, this podcast, like I told y'all that ABK was still Psychopathic, and still people are going to come at me, I know it, and say, no, you're wrong because this, and this, or he actually left, but he's just lying about it or whatever. There's a cover-up. I don't know what you're going to tell me, but someone's going to come at me and tell me that I'm wrong for some reason. So in my mind, that's just another thing checked off the list that's like, all right, well, this is what I've been telling you, and here's the proof. So I'm putting that out of my mind. There was a whole lot of other stuff, though, on that Wicked 101 show that was talked about. A lot of really interesting shit, and I don't even want to just go through and tell you all of it because I don't want to take away from their views and shit. You should just go either to the Magic Ninja Facebook page and watch it, or it has been uploaded to YouTube as well. It's Wicked 101 with ABK on as the guest. That was from December 29th, I want to say. So peep that out, and you'll get all kinds of little snippets. I'll talk about a few things that were on there just to tease some of the trivia to whet your appetites. Apparently the Perfection Collection, ABK's Perfection Collection Greatest Hits that came out on Psychopathic a while back, that was originally going to be a series. They were going to do a Perfection Collection for every artist on the label, but they started with ABK and then just never followed up on another one. I thought that was interesting. Road Fools, he talked about Road Fools a little bit. He said he still has hours and hours of old footage from the original Road Fools that never came out, so there could potentially be more, volumes of old school Road Fools footage coming out if he would, just actually do something with it. He talked a lot about how he has a whole vault of material of, audio and video that he's just been sitting on that could come out in the future, so that's interesting. One of the albums that he teased, it was called Tampon Juice. That was definitely some brand new news. Tampon Juice. He said that he thinks that one will probably be a Native World exclusive because he said that if he brought an album called Tampon Juice to Billy, he would probably just slap it right out of his hands. So God knows what is coming up on that Tampon Juice. He said that the song Silence of the Hams, the Violent J and Isham Hollow Wicked track from, good while back. What year is that? That's probably something like 2004. I'm off the top of my head. I don't know, but you know the song I'm talking about, Silence of the Hams. Apparently, he has a version of that, ABK does, that has himself as well as TNT from Natas on it. So there's a version of Silence of the Hams that's ABK, Violent J, Isham, and TNT, and ABK has it. So who knows if we'll ever hear that. That sounds like the shit. So it's just stuff like that. It's a 2-hour interview, sit down, long form with ABK, and there's just a lot of fascinating nuggets. If you're a juggalo like me that likes to know the weird little bits of trivia that maybe you never heard before, because as far as I know, a lot of that stuff had never been talked about before. I had no idea there was a alternative Silence of the Hams in existence. So if you want to know that type of shit, it's definitely worth a listen. And it goes into a lot of ABK's history as well. That's like what the main theme of the interview is, starting from his come up with Crazy Clan, with Lavelle, and pretty much tracking all of his career. So you're definitely going to want to peep that out, I think. There's really no juggalo that wouldn't want to check that out. Like, it kind of ticks off every box. If you're an ABK fan, you're going to want to check that out. If you're a Psychopathic juggalo, then you're going to want to check it out. If you're a MNE hardcore fan, you're going to want to check it out. All types of good information, good stuff. Peep that out. ICP did their Big Ballas Christmas party recently, and there's been a lot said about that. It sounded like it was pretty damn awesome event. Every account that I've heard of Big Ballas sounds like it really rocked, and there was a lot of songs that came out, just singles and whatnot, just random giveaways and stuff. I didn't personally go to Big Ballas. Perhaps I fucked that up myself, but I think it's pretty awesome that after so many years, Psychopathic is still able to put on events that a lot of people are calling the best ever. I heard several juggalos on social media say that the ICP's acoustic storytellers performance at Ballas was the best performance that ICP has ever done. And these are like old school juggalos saying this, who have been, to over a dozen gatherings and whatnot. People are saying that it was some next level shit, this storyteller set, and they didn't allow cell phones into the Big Ballas, but apparently they were selling disposable cameras so that people could take pictures. I guess the idea being like they didn't mind if people took pictures, but probably what they really didn't want was people recording video like the acoustic set or recording audio and stuff. So that was probably the purpose of taking the cell phones away. But there has been a lot of pretty comprehensive wrap-ups from people who were there. So since there were no videos, we kind of just have to rely on anecdotal stories from the people who were there. And if you weren't there, I would suggest reading Sid Jones's recap of Ballas on Rocks TV. It's been circulating quite a bit. ICP even tweeted it out themselves because it's pretty... It sums it up pretty good, and it talks a lot about the songs that were done during the acoustic set and the stories that were told for some of the songs, which that was kind of the most interesting sounding part of Ballas to me, so that's good. Sid Jones also did like a review on YouTube that is several hours long. I haven't watched that, but I think that CPN has a review, and just a lot of the YouTubers that went have a review. I watched Echoside Fiend's review. That was about a half hour long, so that's a pretty compact review that tells you a little bit of how everything was set up, talked about some of the merch that was there, talked about the acoustic set a little bit. So if you ask me, the most efficient way to get a complete picture of Ballers is to read Sid Jones's review on Rocks TV's website, and then I went with Echoside Fiend's YouTube review, but once again, there's plenty floating out there, and it sounds awesome. Hopefully they do it again in the warehouse in the future. If they do, I'm going to have to make it a point to get there. I don't know if they'll be doing the acoustic thing again, but a lot of people were saying that the acoustic thing ended up sounding way better than they expected it to, and the set list looked pretty good, and I don't know, I feel that probably had to be a pretty successful venture for Psychopathic money-wise as well. My assumption for holding it at the warehouse was to eliminate all possible middlemen, like obviously when you do a big show out at a venue, the venue gets a cut, the promoter takes a cut. So if you're just holding it in the warehouse, and not only that, but just selling merch like fucking crazy, because apparently there was a lot of really good merch there, like Wizard of the Hood DVDs were there, and all kinds of out-of-print stuff that people haven't been able to find for a long time. With a $150 ticket cost, I assume it had to be a pretty big win for Psychopathic, which is good because they could really use one. I think ever since the DCG Con got shut down in the middle and they had to give out refunds for that in 2018, I think they've been kind of at a little bit of a deficit. Even, those Hell Sellers CDs were $20 each. A lot of people were saying that was probably part of the reason. So that's good. I'm into it. I don't want ICP or Psychopathic to be losing money. If they need to hold shit at the warehouse, if that is in fact the reason, then more power to them. So I'm glad that it sounded like everybody had a great time. I was watching some of it on Psychopathic TV on Facebook. They streamed some Psychopathic TV from Ballas with Keegan and Rudy and Carlito, and Juggalos were coming in and sitting down and playing games and talking bullshit and whatnot. And that would have been probably the funnest part to me. So I don't know, if they do it again in 2019, I really should add that to my list of can't miss events. So I'm glad that everybody seemed to have a good time there and there was no bullshit that went down as far as I could tell. So again, if you were lame like me and did not go, but you want to pretend like you were there, go to Rocks TV and check out Sid Jones's review. All right, Ouija Mac's WaterDamage came out on December 21st, his WaterDamage mixtape that came out on iTunes and Spotify and all those good places. I myself copped this handy-dandy physical version. Let me get a good shot of that. If you're watching the video version of Murder Mayhem Show, I am holding up the physical WaterDamage CD, and I'm sure there's already been multiple unboxing videos for that, but in case this is the first you're seeing it, I'll show you that it is a pretty bare bones release. It's a thin CD case. The only thing in the insert is the track list. There's no booklet or anything. The CD case is just the CD and then generic black case. So no extra bells and whistles on that whatsoever, but that is perfectly fine. The CD was $20 with like another $6 shipping and handling or whatever. So my whole deal with buying this kind of stuff is strictly just for the support. I don't give a shit. I don't if it includes this or that or whatever. You know, obviously for like a big time release, this would probably be kind of disappointing packaging, but this is just a mixtape. It's really only something to put out there just so that the fans can have one more thing to bump. I buy it strictly to support the artist. I ordered this before I even listened to the album. I pre-ordered it actually just a couple of days before it came out. And then I listened to it on Spotify when it's dropped on Spotify. So I had already committed to giving Ouija Mac my money before I had heard it. So I think that's an important thing to do when it's an artist that you're trying to support, particularly someone who's a new artist. I would call Ouija Mac a new artist. Maybe some of the young kids out there might get offended at my definition of the word new, but as far as I'm concerned, he's not even an old enough of a person to be an old artist by any definition. So if you're supporting a new artist like Ouija Mac, then you're going to have to pay money every now and then just to put some more coal into the engine, as it were. So I liked Ouija's fucking gutter water. It gets tripped up on my tongue. Gutter water, WaterDamage. I liked his gutter water well enough. Basically, my review of WaterDamage is fairly close to my review of gutter water, which is that it's not the type of music that I typically listen to, but it's well done for the type of music that it is. So if you do like that style of rap, you're probably going to like WaterDamage. And if you don't like that style of rap, then WaterDamage probably isn't going to be the album to convert you. If you didn't like gutter water, you're not going to like WaterDamage. It's not going to turn you around. So I thought gutter water was pretty solid, which, you know, if you're comparing his studio LP to his mixtape, then yeah, you would expect that the LP would have a higher bar, but mixtape is pretty good too. You know, it's got a handful of tracks that I really enjoy. Let me look through the track list here. Spaghetti is a good one. I like Spaghetti a lot. Murder Vision, I fuck with that one pretty heavy. He's got a Big Hoodoo feature on here. Vanish featuring Big Hoodoo. That is exclusive to WaterDamage. Nardwar Glock is a favorite. That's one that he had been performing live a lot, even just as soon as he got signed. I don't know if that's one that he performed even before he was on Psychopathic or not, but The first time I ever saw him perform was right after he got signed, which was at the Juggalo March. That was his first Psychopathic performance as a Psychopathic artist, and he did Nardwuar Glock there, so I know that a lot of people, including myself, were hoping to eventually hear a studio recording version of that. Yeah, Say My Name. That's another one that was on the SoundCloud that I like. So, yeah, there's some good shit on there. And even if there wasn't, I don't care. I strictly bought it to support him. If you can afford to do that, then I think it's good. If you can't afford to spend $20 on a mixtape that you think is medium, let's say I'll call it medium, then I'm not shaming you. Everyone's got priorities. You got to spend money on certain things in a certain order. But if you do have enough disposable income to support artists like this, then I think it's important to do that from time to time. Don't just bump everything for free all the time. Make sure you slip a little extra cash their way. So WaterDamage, pick that up. You can still buy that on Ouija Mac's Big Cartel store. Google Ouija Mac, Big Cartel, WaterDamage, things like that. That's a good way to find it. It came out on the Rotten Cake label, or whatever Rotten Cake is. It was shipped to me from Rotten Cake. It is not a Psychopathic release in any official capacity. It does have a Hatchet Man logo on the cover of both the physical CD and the online digital version. They both have Hatchet Man all over the cover, so it's not an official Psychopathic release, but it is official freshness. It's officially fresh, if you ask me. So pick that up. That's Ouija Mac's WaterDamage mixtape. Speaking of that new, I have an image here, the first image that I've seen floating around of the Violent J exclusive, VIP exclusive EP from the E&J tour. And this image that I'm looking at here is courtesy of Beneath the Dirt's Instagram account. So if you've seen the artwork, then you can see that the title of the EP appears to be Violent J, brother. And there's a drawing of Hulk Hogan, the old school Hulkamania style Hulk Hogan drawing on the cover of the CD. He has Juggalo written on his bandana there. That's kind of an interesting thing because we all know Hulk Hogan's bullshit that happened. And Violent J and Shaggy, big time Hulkamaniacs growing up. So I'm sure they're both very conflicted, put in a weird position regarding Hulk Hogan, considering that ICP has always been so against all forms of racism, yet here you have one of their idols who was caught in that ridiculousness several years back, dropping all kinds of N-bombs on the phone. That's not hard to find. You could easily Google Hulk Hogan's little scandal there, and I don't know, here they are putting a picture of Hulk Hogan here on the EP, but I would love to hear Violent J's input on that if someone asked him point blank, like, how are you going to put this dude on your CD even after his fucking bullshit? And I'm sure Violent J would give you a very genuine answer, probably something along the lines of how they grew up Hulk Hogan fans and they can't just separate the emotional connection to Hulk Hogan just because of that bullshit. I don't know. I don't want to put words in Violent J's mouth, but I thought that was a kind of a bold move to put that on there. Maybe it's not a bold move. Maybe no one else even thought of that except me. I don't know. But all the same, I'm definitely pumped to check that album out. Fuck. I haven't even tried YouTube yet. For all I know, this shit's probably fucking on YouTube right now as we speak. I don't know. But either way, I'm excited to hear that. Sooner or later, inevitably, I will. I look forward to that. I've heard also from Beneath the Dirt that Shaggy's solo EP that is also supposed to be dropping as part of his VIP on his Fuck the Fuck Off Motherfucker solo tour. I've heard that his EP has not yet been made available. I don't know if that's for a fact or not, but it's just another one of those fucking things. What do you expect at this point from Psychopathic? Sadly, it's one of those things now where like people aren't surprised when something's not ready on time. People just aren't surprised, which it's not really the greatest look, but I don't know. I've gone to VIPs before where they didn't have the stuff ready and then it was just sent through the mail to the mailing address of whatever address you put in when you bought your VIP, and I've never had any problems receiving my stuff, so I'm sure that Shaggy shit will be made available sooner or later. I'm sure it's not just blown off, but either way, I'm curious to know what his new shit is going to be like, but I hope this doesn't turn into a repeat of the Marvelous Missing Link. And what I mean by that is that we still, to this day, have people having the conversation of, if only ICP would have put out the best tracks from Lost, Found, The Phantom, and the Missing Link outtakes into one awesome album, then we would have a great Joker's card compared to 4 CDs that range from okay to good. Like, I would call the Phantom EP great. I would go as far as to call that one great, but as far as Lost, Found, and the outtakes, to me, those range from fine to good. So, if only you could just cherry pick the best tracks, then you could have had one great release. Now, nobody can really seem to agree on what those tracks should be. I've never seen a unanimous agreement as to what tracks should have made the final cut if they were to do that. But with Violent J's EP, Shaggy's EP, Flip the Rat, and Fearless Fred Fury all coming out at the same time, it's just going to be that same discussion. Like, why don't they just take the best tracks they can do, put that on the Joker's card? But in this case, I think maybe that is what they did. I don't know. My pure guess, based on no knowledge, is that these bonus albums that are coming out probably are just cut tracks from Fred Fury that didn't make the cut. I don't know. In Violent J's case, I especially assume that, just because Violent J often has more solo tracks on the Joker's cards anyway, so my assumption is that he ended up with a surplus of tracks, because remember, Violent J's solo EP was announced before Shaggy's. I think Shaggy's may have been more of an afterthought, so maybe Shaggy did go in and have to record some new material to fill out an EP, and that's why it's not ready yet. I don't know. But either way, I'm definitely pumped to hear all of this shit, good or bad. I don't care. I just want to hear it. So definitely peep those out if you have a chance. I don't know. I'm going to start YouTube myself. More new releases announced. Twisted has announced their Abominationz Deluxe CD coming out on Magic Ninja Entertainment. Not a ton of word as to what is going to make this deluxe, other than the fact that I believe both of the bonus tracks from the Monoxide version and the Madrox version from the original Abominationz are both going to be on this new deluxe version. I don't know if there's going to be any kind of extra bells and whistles on that, but that'll be coming out on January 25th, and that's great. I get it. They want to, have control to release their creative properties, however they want, and that's good. I'm getting a little played out on the rehashes, and not just from Twisted, but just in general, and in the music industry in general. So many rehashes, and in Twisted's case specifically, they're always big on this whole we're not trying to live in the past type shit. And it's like, well, are you or aren't you? Because I guarantee if you went to a Twisted VIP tomorrow, or when next time you had a chance, and you said to them, what's the deal with Dark Lotus? What's the deal with ICP? Whatever. If you brought up any of that shit, they would probably tell you, we're not thinking of that anymore. We're looking ahead to the future, which is a good answer, except at the same time, they're looking to the future. They keep constantly putting out their old Psychopathic shit. So it's like, if you're going to keep rehashing your Psychopathic stuff, don't be surprised when people ask you about your relationship with Psychopathic. That's all I'm saying. But Abominationz is a fucking great album. I 100% believe that Abominationz was not given a proper release at Psychopathic. I think most people that really look into all that kind of stuff and really think critically about it would agree with that. Promoted very lousily. Even I think ICP would tell you the same thing. They kind of touched on that during their 2017 interview with Fago Lovers. We all know that the Abominationz pre-orders got all fucked up on Psychopathic, so more power to them. Abominationz, great album, a good one of the best. Probably one of, maybe not the, but one of the last, or most recent, I should say, truly great Psychopathic CDs, in my opinion. I would also call the Mighty Death Pop a great CD. A few others that I really like, of course, but as far as like a tier 1 or 2 album, Abominationz was definitely a 9 out of 10, in my opinion. So, Abominationz Deluxe, that comes out January 25th on Magic Ninja Entertainment. And more Magic Ninja Entertainment coming from Blaze and Anybody Killer. That is the Drive-By Back on the Block vinyl. Yes, that'll be coming out on March 15th, it seems, on Magic Ninja Entertainment. So, Anybody Killer dropping a project with MNE. I'm sure that's going to cause a stink. People are going to be saying whatever they're going to be saying about that. Hopefully Psychopathic doesn't get pissed. Hopefully everyone can fucking be adult about this and just appreciate the freshness of Drive-By coming out. I know there's going to be some new Drive-By shit coming out on the Juggalo Unity Tour. So Drive-By very much staying alive despite the whole MNE, Psychopathic, whatever. And like I always say, when ABK and Blaze collaborate, I just like to see Psychopathic and MNE working together. And then every time I say that, people say ABK's not Psychopathic. And then I have to have that whole conversation that I talked about at the start of the show. But either way, Drive-By Back on the Block, March 15th on vinyl. That'll be fresh if you're a vinyl fan. I'm not really into the whole vinyl game myself, but I know a lot of juggalos are, collectors and whatnot. Peep that out. That's Back on the Block, March 15th. Brotha Lynch Hung announced new album. Looking forward to this one. This is Kevlar. Been talked about for quite a while now. Brotha Lynch's Kevlar now has an official release date, February 22nd, 2019. And we can see from the album artwork that was dropped on Brotha Lynch's social media pages that is coming out on Made Sick Music. It was kind of ambiguous, his relationship with Strange Music at this point. Never a bad relationship, but it had been said before from Tech Nine, like, well, if Brotha Lynch wants to put out more shit on Strange, then we're happy to talk to him about that. And hopefully, get some shit popping off like that. But officially, Brotha Lynch had fulfilled his contract with Strange, and there was no obligation for him to stick with Strange or anything like that. So it was still kind of a question of like, is he going to come back to Strange or isn't he? I've never heard anything negative come from either camp about each other, but for whatever reason, Brotha Lynch has opted to go independent on this one with Made Sick Music. I believe that is Brotha Lynch's own personal imprint, so if it's not, then somebody correct me on that. But Yeah, that is dropping on February 22nd. Kevlar, that'll be the shit. Brotha Lynch rocks fucking old school horrorcore. I've been fucking rocking with Brotha Lynch since fucking as long as I've been a Juggalo, probably. Man, that shit went hard back in the day. Fortunately, I was fortunate enough to actually meet Brotha Lynch for the first time on one of the Tech 9 tours. That was just a few years ago. After having been a fan for so long, I was able to actually meet Brotha Lynch, get his autograph, talk to him for a few minutes, tell him he's the shit, give him his props. Nice guy, of course. They always are. I've never had a bad experience meeting an artist. Maybe you have. I don't know. Of the dozens of artists that I've met, everyone's always been super cool to me. So Brotha Lynch, Kevlar, February 22nd. Check that out. I definitely will be. Other music news, Eminem did a pretty awesome segment on DJ Who Kid's show on Shade 4-5. They were calling it the 12 Days of Dissmas. And Eminem, along with Paul Rosenberg, they dropped their 12 favorite diss tracks over the years. And that was a fascinating listen. I listened to it on YouTube. I don't have Sirius. And the version I listened to on YouTube was 45 minutes long. And they went through each track and talked a little bit about them. They actually played the tracks on XM. When I listened to it, all the audio of the music had been cut out. But the interesting part to me was just listening to them talk about each track. And you don't really hear Eminem come out of his shell too often these days. So for him to actually get out there and talk for 45 minutes is always an interesting thing to me these days. So Eminem obviously knows much more about hip-hop than I do. There's not even it doesn't even need to be said because it's so fucking obvious. And especially when it comes to like old school East Coast shit, like I have a lot of gaps in my knowledge in that, partly because of my age and just my tastes. When I started coming up as a rap fan, I was like really engaged in the West Coast shit. So old school New York stuff, the type of stuff that he was talking about, I knew very little about. Like MC Shan versus KRS-One. That was a beef that maybe I had heard about, but I didn't know anything about. He was talking about MC Light. He talked about a lot of things up top that I'd never heard about because their list, it wasn't really a top 12 countdown. It was more of a 12 tracks in chronological order. So they kind of started from the oldest and went up to the most recent, which they had some stipulations on their list. They didn't have any modern beefs. They only picked older songs, tracks that have kind of been resolved at this point. So the newest thing on their list was Hit 'Em Up, the Tupac song Hit 'Em Up. So that tells you kind of what era they were talking about. They didn't go any more recent than Hit 'Em Up, which I don't even think I could name 12 diss songs that I have strong feelings about before Hit 'Em Up. Not only that, there weren't any Eminem songs on the list. That was another rule, because otherwise the whole list, they said, would just be Eminem tracks, which, that's just a little bit of stunting there. But that was the other rule, which if I were personally making a list of my top diss tracks, you would, of course, have to put Eminem on there. You couldn't do it without him. And also on my personal list, you would have to have tracks dissing Eminem on there as well, since we all know that ICP got some great shots in there. Ain't Nothing But a Bitch Thing, one of my top favorite diss tracks of all time. That's for sure. So it was a really engaging listen. And as far as that era, they picked every single one that I would have picked. Real Motherfucking G's, the Eazy-E track. Dre Day, the Dr. Dre song. No Vaseline, of course. And then Hit 'Em Up, like I said. So they touched on everything that I love, plus a whole bunch more. So I would definitely go listen to that if you're an Eminem fan and you're interested in a little bit of his, they talked, when you're talking about old tracks like that, you get into the history. So if you're interested in history, then it's an engaging listen. You can check that out on YouTube. Just search for the 12 Days of Dismas, and you'll probably find it. I don't know if it was on any kind of official YouTube channel or if someone had bootlegged it, but either way, that was an interesting listen. The 12 Days of Dismas featuring Eminem. And finally, we close with another segment that I call Other Shit That Happened. These are things that happened that I wanted to talk about, but I didn't necessarily have a whole lot to say on, so I wanted to just get them out there. Boondox, he put out a new single from his upcoming Liquor, Lies, and Legacy album. The single was called S.O.B. I thought it was pretty good. It sounds to me a lot like the fucking Devil Without a Cause shit, the old Kid Rock shit, or, whatever other shit Kid Rock was putting out at that time. That's what it sounded like to me, but I wasn't hating on it. I like that fucking era of Kid Rock, so what the fuck do I know? I liked it. That's Boondox S.O.B. D-Loc put out his Ripperside solo CD, and I just listened to that today, as a matter of fact, and I thought it was the shit. I was into it. Way better than Kingdom Come. Not even a comparison. Apples and oranges. Ripperside, the shit. Production was good. Lyrics are good. All the features were good. Dudes on there I'd never heard of doing features but putting it down. I liked it way better than that Kingdom Come bullshit. The intro, sorry to just slip that in there, but it is what it is. The intro on Ripperside, it's D-Loc touches on some of the things that he's been talking about on social media lately, which is like, if you supported the Cottonmouth Kings of the past, then you should support the present as well. I talked about this a little bit on the Murder Mayhem show recently, and my whole thing was and still is that I'm down to support the Cottonmouth new era of Cottonmouth Kings as long as the shit is good. You got to come better than Kingdom Come if you want me to support it and call it Cottonmouth Kings. Because in the intro of Ripperside, he's all on there saying you should support the expansion of the catalog, and I will if it's good, but I'm not going to support it just to support it. If the expansion of the catalog turns out just to be some bullshit, then you can't get mad if people call it bullshit. So we'll see what the future is. Kingdom Come could have just been a misstep, but if he's back on solid footing again, and it sounds like he is from Ripperside, I'm down with it. Whether the future of Cottonmouth Kings ends up being just D-Loc and Richter, whatever, man. I'll go with it if it's good. He does toss some shots out there at Daddy X on the album, so I wouldn't expect Daddy X to be coming around anytime soon, but either way, Ripperside, peep that out if you're a Cottonmouth fan. Chuck D has been named chairman of the celebrity board for a upcoming hip-hop museum. This comes from Variety.com. Let me read this. It says, Public Enemy co-founder Chuck D has joined the Universal Hip Hop Museum's Celebrity Board as chairman. Director Rocky Bucano and chairman of the board Curtis Blow announced Thursday. Curtis Blow, another hip hop legend of note there. Says, quote, Chuck D is one of the most intelligent and well-respected MCs in the culture of hip hop, Blow said. The credibility he brings to our team is mammoth. He also understands the importance of the Universal Hip Hop Museum and vows to let the world know via a star-studded celebrity board in the near future. Flame on! End quote. Article goes on to talk a little bit about the history of Chuck D, as if you need a fucking lesson on that. It says that recently the museum secured $20 million in funding and is sent to break ground at Bronx Point in December 2019. Doors are scheduled to open in 2022. So that's the shit. Chuck D, if anybody fucking deserves a place in anything regarding hip-hop, chairman of the board of the Hip-Hop Museum, whatever the fuck, Chuck D, can't go wrong with him. And this museum sounds pretty fucking cool. I don't really know shit about it, aside from the fact that Chuck D and Curtis Blow are involved, but if there's some kind of hip-hop museum opening in the Bronx in 2022 that already has $20 million in funding, sounds like it'll be the shit. Hopefully one day I can check that out myself with my own eyeballs. I've never been to New York, and you couldn't fucking have a hip-hop museum anywhere but the Bronx. You would be foolish to open it anywhere else. So that's the shit. Big congratulations to Chuck D on that. All right, we got a story here from RollingStone.com. It says, late NWA manager Jerry Heller's Straight Outta Compton lawsuit dismissed. Basically what has happened here is the former NWA manager Jerry Heller, whom, if you know shit about NWA or any of that, then you know that he's pretty much the villain of the NWA story. Quite literally the villain of the NWA story in the Straight Outta Compton movie, which is what he was suing over. Basically saying that the movie was bullshit. Not only that, but that some of the stuff in the movie was pulled from his own very autobiography, which I've read, by the way, and is definitely worth a look if you want his side of things, which it is always important, in my opinion, to get all sides of things. But by just about every account I've ever heard from people that were there during that era, Straight Outta Compton, the movie, is pretty fucking accurate. From just about everybody who was there will tell you that the movie is pretty damn accurate. So there's not really a lot of question that Jerry Heller was the guy that everybody said that he was. You know, Ice Cube will damn sure fucking tell you in No Vaseline, he fucking goes off on the shit. So I don't really know where he was going with that lawsuit, but the judge basically said that there's no evidence to keep the lawsuit going, so it's fucking done, which the fact that he died probably has something to do with that. You know, maybe if he were still alive, he would be driving the lawsuit more, but either way, it's dismissed, so that's good. Probably a headache that Dr. Dre and Ice Cube and the Eazy-E estate didn't want to have to deal with, so that's a win for them. And that's just, well, that's pretty much the end of Jerry Heller, I guess. That was kind of the last vestige of his influence, or, you know, what have you, on NWA, pretty much out the window now. So I thought that was interesting. One last note here. Wanted to send it off on a positive tip. Congratulations go out to JCW's own Crazy Mary Dobson, who has wed. Yes, she got married just a few days before Christmas. That happened on December 21st. Crazy Mary Dobson, now known as Sarah Logan in the WWE. She's always Crazy Mary Dobson in this Juggalo's heart. She got married to a fellow WWE wrestler named Ro. They had what they described as a Viking-themed wedding. There are pictures of that on their social media accounts. Looks like great fun to be had. So awesome to see Mary Dobson's success skyrocket into the sky over at WWE. I feel grateful that I was able to see her in the Juggalo circuit before, you know, she really blew up that way. She, of course, you probably well know she was the tag team partner of Madman Pondo, another JCW legend himself. So that's just fantastic stuff. She had the talent and the goods to really make it there. It would be awesome if one day she would return to JCW in some capacity. I'm not expecting that anytime soon. I'm sure she has her hands full and contracts and shit preventing her from doing anything like that at this point, but it happens all the time, you know. WWE stars, once usually after they've fallen down a few notches, will pop back on over to JCW, and Mary Dobson, just one of those characters that will always be beloved, I think, in the JCW story, in the JCW mythos. She could come back at any time. She could come back at 45 years old and still get tremendous pops, especially if she's if she links up with Pondo in a tag team match at JCW, some kind of return in that way. I mean, Juggalos will always have love for Mary Dobson, I think. So congratulations to her on her marriage. Very awesome person. I'm not sure off the top of my head if I've ever had the good fortune to meet her. I'm thinking that I haven't, but seems like a good woman all the same. So congratulations, Mary Dobson. And with that said, I think that just about does it. I got some Murder Mayhem show notes. You know, I saved these to the end, so if you don't want to hear this, you were just here for the news, you can go ahead and hit stop right now. But I did take last week off of the Murder Mayhem show. Fortunately, the timing was such that I can blame it on the holiday, but it really wasn't that. I just had a lot of other stuff going on at work. It's tough to fucking squeeze this in. Not only that, I kind of was feeling like shit, and you can still hear it in my throat, I think. Throughout this episode, I'll have to go back and cut out all of my hacking, wheezing coughs, but I think you can still hear it in my voice. Just trying to power through and get it out there, because I'm trying to get new Murder Mayhem show material out as close to every week as I possibly can. I'm doing the YouTube video that I will also be uploading as a podcast, so if you're listening to this on the podcast, peep out the YouTube channel, watch the video version. If you're watching the video, peep out the podcast, listen to what you just watched. Follow me on Twitter, of course, twitter.com/murdermayhemguy. I'm tweeting all the fucking time, way too much, some might say. Facebook.com/mayhem show. It's facebook.com/mayhem show. That YouTube address is youtube.com/c/murder mayhem show. All my social medias are fucked up as far as the URLs. They're all over the place. They're all fucking different. So just go to murdermayhemshow.com. Make it simple on yourself. murdermayhemshow.com. Get all the links to everything. You can, of course, just search Murder Mayhem Show on any of those social media pages, and you'll probably find me. But you can find everything consolidated at murdermayhemshow.com, as well as blogs and pictures, and there's some remixes, mashups, and shit. There's just random odds and ends on there all the time, so peep that out. Trying to get my YouTube subscribers up so that I can monetize, so please share stuff. Share it if you like it. New year, big shit in the works. Everyone always says that about their shit, but I'm no exception. I've got some big stuff on my mind coming up very rapidly. Already been talking to other people about collaborations and working on some bigger shit. So stick around. Gonna be a lot of good stuff coming in the future. I think that just about does it. So until next time,